Theory Podcast,
Episode 1. Hey, y'all. My name is Courtney Thornton.
and my name is Marissa Thornton.
Yeah, so this is a new podcast that we're wanting to kick off. It's called Twin Theory. I'm giving you all a little background about myself. I just turned 30 years old, and I am the oldest.
Oh, okay. All right.
The oldest. Me and my sister, we're identical twins. Born and raised on the East Coast.
Hampton, Virginia.
Hampton, what's up?
757.
Yeah, all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a graduate of Hampton University. Shout out class of 2012. Ogre 5, Ogre 14. What's up?
Okay, and I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama at Birmingham. That's UAB.
Oh, okay.
Class of
Okay,
2012.
okay.
Yes.
So yeah, we're currently living in the DMV area. So moved here about 7 years ago, 2013, once I graduated from college, and I started working out here. I work as an electronics engineer for the Air Force, and then about a year later, somebody moved in with me.
Yeah, so about a year later in 2014, I came out here to be with my loving older sister. And
I heard that loving, right?
Yes, loving. And went to grad school at George Mason University and then stayed out here. And I've been working with the U.S. Census Bureau for about 3.5 years now.
Okay. Dope. So, yeah, before we get into the topic for today, just kind of wanted to give a little bit of a background on the podcast. So, like I said, me and Marissa, we're really close. We're twins, been living together for about 6 years now, post-college, post-undergrad, right?
Post-undergrad. Oh, well, it was, post-undergrad.
Post-undergrad. And we find ourselves having some really, really deep conversations, y'all. Like some really, really deep conversations just about us being our age, now being 30, being young adults, trying to be influential, just a whole bunch of struggles that we go through, as well as just trying to create a platform to encourage other young adults that are around our age that could be struggling, or just to start those conversations that I think should definitely leave our apartment here in PG County. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So we definitely, just wanted to start this podcast. It's called Twin Theory.
Twin Theory.
One thing that y'all gonna know and figure out is that we identical, but we think different, okay?
We're very different beings.
We're totally different. So anyway, what we thought a good title for this first show for us is Dirty 30.
Dirty 30.
So we just recently turned 30 years old, y'all.
Yes.
Like, whoa.
Big milestone.
We just recently turned 30. So it's a whole bunch of things that kind of come with turning 30, a whole bunch of mixed feelings and stuff. So we just kind of wanted to talk about a little bit of it today and, get some of your thoughts and stuff. So let's jump right into it. Some questions that we ask ourselves, and I'm going to ask you, Marissa.
All right, put me on the spot.
I'm going to put you on, girl.
Put me on the spot.
The first question is, what does Dirty 30 mean to you?
So, Dirty 30 for me means establishment. Looking back at my 20s, I was just, trying to get somewhere, right? Like, what am I doing? Like, where I'm working, where I'm going to live, that sort of thing. And then as you go through your 20s and you mature and you start to kind of get into the career you want to get in and start to save money and do adult things, once you hit 30, it's kind of like, okay, now I need to establish myself. I've figured out, the career path. I've ironed out a few of the things that I might have jacked up in my 20s. So now let's just, establish myself. Let's, root myself somewhere. So when I think of 30, that's what I think of. Is this where I want to be at right now? Is this the career I want to be in? All right, let's expand in that. Let's get a bit more successful in that. Let's look for more opportunities here, that sort of thing. So establishment is what I think of for Dirty 30. Now, what do
Okay,
you think, Court? What do you
that's
think
good.
about
That's good.
Dirty 30?
I'm gonna piggyback off of that. So for
Boo.
me, yes, establishment I think is the first part. I think that's what the 20s is when you graduate from college and it's just kind of like you trying to figure out, all right, what am I doing? You know, you get that first job and you just trying to work your way around, figure out who's who, figure out what you're doing. And I really think Dirty 30 stands for like elevation. To
Okay.
me, that's my
Okay.
word, is elevation. It's like in your 20s, you done kind of got the roadmap, you done kind of built the foundation a
The
little
rites of
bit, you know,
passage.
the rites of passage, you done felt your way around, you were the new kid on the block, and now you like, I ain't the new kid no more. Y'all gonna give me this promotion, y'all
Right.
gonna give me what I deserve, because we
Right.
know y'all all out there working hard, you know,
Right. Very true.
working hard. So I really feel like 30 is where you start to really make that elevation
Okay.
in your career, or you know, in your personal life. It's just that it's that change. It's
Okay.
the start of that elevation. I believe it continues on, you know, into the rest of your life, but I really feel like Dirty 30 means elevation, baby.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm
So
feeling it.
so cool. So you said establish,
Mm-hmm.
I say elevation.
Okay.
All right, that's about,
So,
that's
you know,
about to
we
say.
got the E's
We
going
got the
on
E's,
here.
you know, E. So now, what are some things that you've heard about 30? You know, going into your 30s, you talk to your friends that are already in their 30s or your parents or whatever. What's some things that you heard about 30?
So I would say that you hear some things where people are like, oh, 30 is the new 21. And like, well, I don't know if I want to go back to 21. Like some people do, but
Nah,
21
Shawty,
was
nah,
rough. Like I
nah.
was still trying to figure it out for sure at 21. So you hear that 30, a lot of people are looking for, okay, now, you know, maybe you're starting a family or starting a business or something to that degree. So a lot of people even said, when I hit 30, this is what I did. Um, in terms of 30s, I think kind of piggybacking what you're saying what does Dirty 30 mean to you, Court? I think 30s is like a form of elevation. Like if you're a Christian, you know, Jesus hit the city, you know,
Oh,
it was
Lord.
at 30, right.
Yes.
So,
Preach
right.
on.
Okay. So, you know, and a lot of people, I mean, you look at like some celebrities, athletes, other people like that, and it was like 30 is kind of, if you will, when they snap, you know, it was like they was getting there, they were maturing, and then 30 it was like, okay, now here I am.
Elevation,
Exactly. So,
elevation.
so I mean that's kind of what I've seen. I know you said what have you heard about 30, but it's just, you know, things that I've seen. So,
Yeah, so when I say think of like what do you heard about 30, like all of my friends that are in their 30s, we about to see if it's urban legend or not, okay? Because I'm 30 now, so I'm about to let y'all know. But they like, yo, when you turn 30, it's lit. Like, it is lit. It's a whole nother level. And I don't know if that comes from being a little bit more established. You know, like 20s was broke by broke.
yes.
So by the time you get to 30, like maybe you're a little more established, you can travel a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Go to a few other countries and you can go to some more concerts. You can kind of see your friends now because you know you kind of got a little bit of a budget. You can kind of work off of that. So like for 30, most people have said, man, 30s, that's like the best decade of your life is your 30s. You're going to absolutely enjoy them.
I'm looking forward to
I
it.
am looking.
Y'all better not have lied.
Yo, like I'm gonna hold every one of y'all up to that, okay? So definitely that's something I've heard about 30. I'm excited about it. But that leads me to the next question, Riss, and that is, how do you think the societal norms affect you at 30 or going into 30? What are your thoughts about that?
So, a lot of people, I would say that I've spoken to, kind of when you're hitting 30, they expect you to kind of be starting a family. And so I would say in that degree, if you haven't done that yet, like myself, I'm single, Court, you're single, you know, we're not married, no kids, anything like that. And so when you begin conversations with people and if your age comes up and you say, oh, I'm 30, I'm like, oh, you married yet? because there are certain expectations at 30. So it might not just be your relationship or marriage or anything like that, but society does expect you to have done certain things. So I would say as we were nearing 30, I kind of thought about that, like, oh man, I I thought maybe I would have done a bit more by 30 in that degree. But at the same time, I also look at 30 and I'm like, man, I've done quite a bit, and I'm just turning 30 now. So I don't know. I think societal norms does kind of start, I don't know.
Does it affect you any? I know for me, like, so when I think of societal norms for 30, it's interesting, right? Because I also think it's regional, depending on where you at, where you grew up at. If you talk to somebody that like lives in the deep south, by 30, you're married and you have kids,
True.
like you're married and you have kids if you deep south somewhere. Whereas like if you're in your 30s and you living up in New York or somewhere, or LA or somewhere, you hustling and bustling, you
Hmm.
trying to make it. But I think overall society, like as a female, definitely when it comes to 30, I think that's where the pressure starts to hit a little bit, because like you said, you do have those coworkers and stuff that are like, they know that you're 30 and the first thing they ask you is like, when you get married,
Right. You engaged
when you
yet?
getting some kids. And it's like you have family that start to kind of question you a little bit, look at you a little bit. Luckily, our parents haven't applied the pressure.
Nope, not at all.
They haven't applied any pressure. Not that they ain't get no pressure from nobody, but
Right.
they haven't applied the pressure. But it's definitely something that when I think of that norm, and I think of it being a female,
Hmm.
what does 30 mean? And being a female, being 30, you start to think, people start to talk about that biological clock. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? Like it starts to come on, or some sort of countdown, or something
Right.
just
Like,
starts to appear. Like what in the world?
yeah.
So it gets a little interesting when you get to that 30. Whereas I guess the next part would be like, how could we change that societal norm? And I think that like when you get to 30, it's so interesting. Nobody really, at least as a female, nobody really says like, hey, where are you at in your career? Are you elevating in your career? Like, are you going for that promotion X, Y, and Z? The first thing they ask is when you having some babies and getting married. So I feel like we definitely have to kind of like change that
Hmm.
dynamic for the people who want to get married and have kids by their 30, by the time they're
Nothing is
30.
wrong with that at
Nothing
all.
is absolutely wrong with that. And for y'all that have, more power to you.
Hmm.
But I think that there's more things that come with 30 than let's get married and have some kids. I think
Yeah.
you can, it's a lot of things that you can say
Right.
to
You
somebody
can.
who just turned 30,
Yeah, that's
So
that's
I
a good way of cleaning it up. Thank you there.
oh yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you,
I
Courtney.
got you.
You
I
kind of
got you, bro.
cleaned it
I
up
got you.
for
I got you. I
me.
got you. I
Yeah.
got you. Um, so, okay, so that brings me to, we talking about societal norms. It's real interesting, right? Like even mindset, what you were thinking as you mature, right? But I'm wondering if you can remember your 18-year-old self, right? 18, like, ooh, I'm grown out here. You know what I'm saying? Where did you think, like, what did you envision for yourself at 30?
I was so far off the path that I am now. So when I was 18, going into college, pre-med, thought I was going to be a doctor, thought I would get my MD by the time I was 26 and then be married by
Good
28.
Lord.
I know, be
What?
married by 28 and have two kids at least by 32. And
What?
and I think some of that is built on like the
The societal
societal norm,
norm?
right?
Yeah.
So as you're aging and going through, and you're like, oh, that should have happened, but we already passed time for that. So you're gonna have to reshape what the goal is. So so I would say that that when I was 18, I was thinking by 30 that I would be a MD, which I went a completely different route than medical. But I thought I was going to be an MD. I thought I would be married. I thought I at least have one kid by now, be working on the second kid. And as I started maturing and nearing 30, that vision started to change. But I also realized that that vision, I would not have been ready for that had that occurred at my time frame that I thought it would. Like me getting married by a certain age and me starting kids and family
You'd
and
have
that
been
sort
like
of.
rushing it a
Yeah,
little
yeah, I would have
bit.
been rushing it. I wouldn't have been matured at the level that I would like to be when that does start. So that was just it. What about you, Court? What when you're
Um,
18, what do you think you're gonna be? The
You
same
know,
thing? You
like,
gonna have kids, be married? You
no,
gonna be a
no,
doctor?
absolutely not. Like,
Okay.
at the time that I was 18, I didn't even know what I was going to be doing at 21, you know? Like, at 18, it was just a whole different world. If somebody asked me what I was going to be doing at 30, I think I would have looked at them like, really? Like, really, really? Um, I think if I could have imagined, like, I didn't even know if I was going to finish the engineering program. Like, I'm like, what is this calculus, Jesus? But man, like at that point, it was, I couldn't even envision where I am now. Like I think I have surpassed what I could have ever thought I would have been by the time I turned 30. I just knew
I
that
agree.
I wanted to be working and I wanted to be out my parents' house. I think that's the only two major things at 18 was by 30. I plan to be out the house and
For
I
sure.
want to be working somewhere consistently. And I didn't even have any specific, like, that's crazy. You're saying, you know, like you knew exactly what you wanted to be
Hey,
doing. Like,
you
did you
know.
know how you wanted to design your house too? Like, what the
No,
world?
I didn't
Like,
have all that
oh,
now.
okay. I'm like, what? Like, I only had two major things, y'all. I wanted to have a job and be out my parents' house, okay? But yeah, I mean, that's cool just to see, like, in two different ways, just where you were at 18, you had just all these things mapped out and things have just like really changed over those 12 years. Whereas for me, I have really nothing specific. And then like all these things have happened. So, but yeah, so, okay. So that leads me to the last point, right? And this is a biggie for all of my 1990 babies out there. Happy 30th.
Yes.
Turn up. But man, this is such a question. All of you all that had birthdays after mid-February of this year. How does it feel turning 30 during a pandemic? Like, this is different, y'all. Like, nobody's ever been through, I mean, people have been through a pandemic, but like those people are long dead, right? Like the first
Well, I
flu and
mean,
stuff that
something
happened.
like
Wasn't it?
bird flu and all those, like people should
Was
swine
that a
flu.
pandemic?
Well, in
I don't
certain
know. Was
areas.
that a, yeah, was that a, anyway, I don't know if
Some
that
people
was
are still here.
it was a pandemic, you know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
all
But
right.
how does it feel? And the thing is, like, we are in the pandemic. It ain't like we're outside of the pandemic talking about, ooh, that was crazy. Like, we in the pandemic, so we don't know when it's going to end. You know, some of us had hypothesized that it was going to be over by June, and it ain't nowhere near over. They
Right,
talking
that's true.
2021. They didn't
Right.
cancel all the homecomings. They didn't
Right.
cancel football season. They didn't cancel the Olympic. Like,
Right.
how do y'all feel? How does that maybe change your mindset going into 30? Has it changed it at all? Like, what you feeling, Riz?
Kind of. I mean, the goals are still there. Now, for me, you know, I'm a bit less of a social butterfly. I kind of keep to myself, but my a personal goal was to kind of branch out and start building more relationships with people. You know, I look at some of the elders in my family and they have some really strong bonds that they built kind of like in their 30s with people, and you know, they've been having these friendships 20, 30, 40 years. And so I was looking at wanting to kind of do that, start that, follow up on some of those relationships with people from the past that I've had, and then even new ones. And now that I'm in the pandemic, it's like, man, you can't really meet with that person anymore. So one, it makes me think about, okay, when the opportunity does come again, I'll make sure I take advantage of it, because you kind of fail to realize how much you know, you could have taken advantage of certain opportunities until you can't, right? Until the pandemic comes and you kind of limited to social distancing and other things. So I guess the pandemic made me think of that, and, you know, turning 30 even and having that goal to do that, all those things together. Yeah, the pandemic kind of just reminded me, hey, when the world opens up, go for it.
Yeah, when outside open back up.
When
Right?
outside
When
open back up.
open up. Man, okay, so turning 30 during the pandemic. Man, I'm gonna tell you what, like going into 2020, I was so hype.
Yeah.
I was so hype. I had like so many things on my calendar. I was supposed to be traveling. I was supposed to be going overseas, y'all. Overseas
Yes.
for work. Like that's an official status. Go overseas for work and go brief at a conference over in
Yes.
Germany, y'all. It's supposed to happen in March, and they got rid of that. Y'all, I am so blown over that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so much that this was really supposed to be that turning point year for me. And it's just like, man, I'm finally kind of like picking myself up, but I ain't gonna lie, y'all. It was a little bit of like a knockout punch almost.
Just
It
a
was
bit.
like man, was counting me out, man. Like I was on at least like a 5 or 6, and you know, like it's just kind of like trying to breathe that new life into myself. Like, okay, Cora, let's motivate ourselves to push through this pandemic. Like, you got to have some sort of faith that we gonna get out of this, that we gonna get on the other side of this, that they gonna figure something out, and you know, we gonna be okay. So definitely turning 30 during the pandemic, like it's not exactly what I had in mind, but there's a purpose,
Yeah,
you know,
it
like
allows us to get creative.
yeah, it allows us to get real creative. I have to really tap into these creative juices. We've been able to kick off this podcast.
Hey, here we are.
And it's just kind of like, man, it's just really switching up the way that I have to plan about some things. Maybe I need to even think about, you know, in the future, in my planning, just planning for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I think like sometimes we just kind of have these very specific
Plan A,
plans,
and that's it.
and just plan A, and if plan A don't work, what you mean plan A ain't gonna work?
Exactly.
You know, so maybe we need to actually talk about plan B.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? So definitely that's what I think during the pandemic. But yeah, so man, I think this is good, Riz.
I
like
think so
I really
too.
do. I mean, like I feel better now. I feel like weight is off of my chest.
Yeah,
like
just
we
to
got to
kinda
really
get that
talk
out
about
there.
some
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, y'all. So definitely, you know, just kind of like recapping on this. Like I'm really like looking forward to hearing some feedback. You know, for y'all that's just turning 30. Like, what does this dirty 30 mean to you? Like, you know, how the societal norms affected you, if they have at all. If they haven't, great. But you know, if they have, drop us a line. Let us know what you think. And definitely how you're working through it during this pandemic, because like it's been real weird. This pandemic has really just been real weird. So yeah, so before we head out though, I got that question of what does dirty 30 mean to you all? So for y'all that are approaching 30, y'all that turned 30 this year, what does that dirty 30 mean to you? And if y'all all of y'all that are already in your 30s, that are 30, you know, 5, maybe even 40, you know, like already in your 30s or older, like what advice do y'all have for us 30-year-olds out here? Because yeah, we need some advice.
Right. Should we believe the hype?
Should we believe the hype?
Yeah, should we believe it, or we just like what's happening here?
Well, like what goes on at 30? Because this 30 thing is an unknown. You know, like it's definitely like now it's the whole pandemic thing.
Right.
Slide on it, but definitely let us know
It's
what
the wild
advice
card.
do you have for 30-year-olds? Like I'm very interested in knowing any advice that you can give, not just like career, but you know, personal, about anything that you got. I'm interested. Let us know. But before we end for today, I do want to give y'all a little bit of a tidbit for next month. You want to talk to them about it, Riz? Real quick. You get a little long-winded. Get real quick.
I'm sorry, I'll be real fast. So we're going to talk about Black Girl Magic and just kind of break down what does Black Girl Magic really mean. Is it magic? Is it not magic? Like how does society view it? And then how do Black women deal with Black Girl Magic?
Okay, that's it.
Okay, all right, we'll cut it.
That's it. And cut it.
All right, cool.
So, all right, y'all. Well, y'all have a great one. Until next time, y'all stay blessed and wear your mask, baby. Okay, wear your mask and stay 6 feet apart. All right, I'll talk to y'all later.
Bye.